Although I've been involved in violence prevention and initiatives to reduce urban youth violence for a couple of decades at least, the issue is not something that's been new to me. What's the value of this to my home, to my city, to my Chicago? And as I thought about that, I realized that the issues that affect Chicago, particularly violence, isn't just endemic to Chicago. It's not just our problem.
It's important as Global Diplomacy Lab for us to lean on that global and that diplomacy part of our labs. And in this particular case, as we tackle the issue of urban youth violence, it was to take this huge, complex issue and break it down into 6 really sustainable parts.
It helped me to understand the root causes of violence, but also to understand the power struggle, the social injustice, but beyond that one, the resources available.
Increase the Peace is a youth-led initiative where, youth gather together and try to come up with solutions to certain issues that we see in our communities. That's something that I work with every day of my life, even before it was considered work. Being there, getting to know a lot of the participants, the members of the GDL, hearing some of their stories and their reasons why, this was important to them.
One of the things that for me that really came out of that is that what we're doing here in Back of the Yards of employing young people from the community is something that's being talked about in other parts of the world as a way to prevent violence.
We ended up splitting up into 6 different groups, and within those groups, everyone had the task of coming up with some kind of solution.
There are so many beautiful souls here in this neighborhood and beautiful people that want to do good, and it's just we don't have that foot in the door, or we don't know how to get involved. And there are some people that are already doing some great work all around Chicago and in our neighborhoods, and it's just a matter of connecting with one another.
These conversations that we're having with each other and that are continuing are going to help really provide models for other people to follow, including the toolkit. We wanted to make sure folks knew and understand that the Chicago they get from the news and from the media isn't the only Chicago, right? For example, Back of the Yards is a beautiful community. There's a lot of good things that are happening here, but you only hear about the violence and the gangs, and so the fact that we were able to share that with folks from around the world was truly a blessing.
I think it's important to know that people are dealing with the same type of issues all across the world, and sometimes we can feel so marginalized and we don't understand that we have the solutions.
If I could bring my global friends to Chicago to help us come up with some unique ideas or take existing ideas and look at them from a different perspective, not only could we help Chicago better address urban youth violence, but then we could take what we've learned here in Chicago, all the best practices, and take those elsewhere in the world to help Rio and South Africa and suburban Paris.
Together we can work to make sure that we can erase that margin and stand with each other so that we can make the world a better place.
The most amazing experience here was being able to see all the young leaders that came together from Increase the Peace and from other organizations to participate and work with these global leaders.
The one thing that I do hope that happens is that they do include youth at the table, because they're the ones with all the solutions and we just need to guide them.
When you compare it 5 years in the future, we'll say Chicago is now the safest city in the United States and one of the safest cities in the world. That's my hope.